Chapter 11 of Book 1 of Prior Analytics by Aristotle, translated by Octavius Owen. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Jeffrey Edwards. Chapter 11 of the same in the third figure. In the last figure, when the terms are universally joined to the middle, and both premises are affirmative if either of them be necessary, the conclusion will also be necessary, and if one be negative, but the other affirmative, when the negative is necessary, the conclusion will be also necessary, but when the affirmative is so, the conclusion will not be necessary. For first, let both propositions be affirmative, and let A and B be present with every C, and let A, C be a necessary proposition. Since then B is present with every C, C will also be present with a certain B, because an universal is converted into a particular, so that if A is necessarily present with every C, and C with a certain B, A must also be necessarily present with a certain B, for B is under C, hence the first figure again arises. In like manner it can be also demonstrated if B, C is a necessary proposition, for C is converted with a certain A, so that if B is necessarily present with every C, but C with a certain A, B will also of necessity be present with a certain A. Again, let A, C be a negative proposition, but B, C affirmative, and let the negative be necessary, as therefore an affirmative proposition is convertible, C will be present with some certain B, but A of necessity with no C. Neither will A necessarily be present with some B, for B is under C. But if the affirmative is necessary, there will not be a necessary conclusion, for let B, C be affirmative and necessary, but A, C negative and not necessary. Since then the affirmative is converted, C will also be with a certain B of necessity, wherefore if A is with no C, but C with a certain B, A will also not be present with a certain B, but not from necessity, for it has been shown by the first figure that when the negative proposition is not necessary, neither will the conclusion be necessary. Moreover, this will also be evident from the terms, for let A be good, B animal, and C horse. It happens therefore that good is with no horse, but animal is necessarily present with every horse. But it is not however necessary that a certain animal should not be good, for every animal may possibly be good. Example 1. No horse is good. It is necessary that every horse should be an animal, therefore some animal is not good. Or If this is not possible, viz. That every animal is good, we must assume another term as "to wake," or "to sleep," for every "animal is capable of these." Example 2. No horse wakes/sleeps. It is necessary that every horse should be an animal. Therefore some animal does not wake/sleep. If then the terms are universal in respect to the middle, it has been shown when there will be a necessary conclusion. But if one term is universally, but the other particularly predicated of the middle, and both propositions are affirmative, when the universal is necessary, the conclusion will also be necessary, for the demonstration is the same as before, since the particular affirmative is convertible. If therefore B is necessarily present with every C, but A is under C, B must also necessarily be present with a certain A, and if B is with a certain A must also be present necessarily with a certain B, for it is convertible. The same will also occur if A, C be a necessary universal proposition, for B is under C. But if the particular be necessary, there will not be a necessary conclusion, for let B, C be particular and necessary, and A present with every C, yet not of necessity, B, C then being converted, we have the first figure, and the universal proposition is not necessary, but the particular is necessary. But when the propositions are thus, there was not a necessary conclusion, so that neither will there be one in the case of these. Example 3. Every C is A. It is necessary that some C should be B, / B should be C. Therefore some B is A. Moreover, this is evident from the terms, for let A be wakefulness, B biped, but C animal. B then must necessarily be present with a certain C, but A may happen to be present with every C, and yet A is not necessarily so with B, for a certain biped need not sleep, or wake. Example 4. Every animal wakes. It is necessary that some animal should be biped, therefore some biped wakes. So also we may demonstrate it by the same terms if A be particular and necessary. Example 5. It is necessary that some animal should be a biped. Every animal wakes, therefore something that wakes is a biped. Every animal wakes. It is necessary that some biped should be an animal, therefore some biped wakes. But if one term be affirmative and the other negative, when the universal proposition is negative and necessary, the conclusion will also be necessary. For if A happens to know C, but B is present with a certain C, A must necessarily not be present with a certain B. But when the affirmative is assumed as necessary, whether it be universal or particular negative, there will not be a necessary conclusion, for we may allege the other same reasons against it, as in the former cases, but let the terms when the universal affirmative is necessary be wakefulness, animal, man, the middle man. Example 6. Some man does not wake. It is necessary that every man should be an animal, therefore some animal does not wake. But when the particular affirmative is necessary, let the terms be wakefulness, animal, white, for animal must necessarily be with something white, but wakefulness happens to be with nothing white, and it is not necessary that wakefulness should not be with a certain animal. Example 7. Nothing white wakes. It is necessary that something white should be an animal, therefore some animal does not wake. But when the negative particular is necessary, let the terms be biped, motion, animal, and the middle term animal. Example 8. It is necessary that some animal should not be a biped. Every animal is moved, therefore something which is moved is not a biped. Chapter 12. A comparison of pure with necessary syllogisms. It appears then that there is not a syllogism de in esse, unless both propositions signify the being present with, but that a necessary conclusion follows, even if one alone is necessary. But in both, the syllogisms being affirmative or negative, one of the propositions must necessarily be similar to the conclusion. I mean by similar, that if the conclusion be simply that a thing is present with, one of the propositions also signifies simply the being present with, but if necessarily, that is, in the conclusion, one of the propositions is also necessary. Wherefore this also is evident, that there will neither be a conclusion necessary, nor simple de in esse, unless one proposition be assumed as necessary, or purely categorical, and concerning the necessary, how it arises, and what difference it has in regard to the de in esse, we have almost said enough. Chapter 13. Of the contingent, and its concomitant propositions. Let us next speak of the contingent, when and how, and through what propositions there will be a syllogism, and to be contingent, and the contingent I define to be that which, not being necessary, but being assumed to exist, nothing impossible will on this account arise, for we say that the necessary is contingent equivocally. But that such is the contingent is evident from opposite negatives and affirmatives, for the assertions, it does not happen to be, and, it is impossible to be, and, it is necessary not to be, are either the same, or follow each other, wherefore also the contraries to these, it happens to be, it is not impossible to be, and, it is not necessary not to be, will either be the same, or follow each other. For of everything there is either affirmation or negation, hence the contingent will be not necessary, and the not necessary will be contingent. It happens, indeed, that all contingent propositions are convertible with each other. I do not mean the affirmative into the negative, but as many as have an affirmative figure as to opposition, e.g., it happens to exist, is convertible into, it happens not to exist, and, it happens to every, into, it happens to none, or not to every, and it happens to some, into it happens not to some, in the same manner also with the rest. For since the contingent is non-necessary, and the non-necessary may happen not to exist, it is clear that if A happens to be with any B, it may also happen not to be present, and if it happens to be present with every B, it may also happen not to be present with every B. There is the same reasoning also in particular affirmatives, for the demonstration is the same, but such propositions are affirmative and not negative, for the verb to be contingent is arranged similarly to the verb to be, as we have said before. These things then being defined, let us next remark that to be contingent is predicated in two ways: one, that which happens for the most part and yet falls short of the necessary, for instance, for a man to become hoary, or to grow, or to waste, or in short, whatever may naturally be, for this has not a continued necessity, for the man may not always exist, but while he does exist, it is either of necessity or for the most part. The other way the contingent is indefinite, and is that which may be possibly thus, and not thus, as for an animal to walk, or while it is walking for an earthquake to happen, or in short whatever occurs casually, for nothing is more naturally produced thus, or in a contrary way. Each kind of contingent however is convertible according to opposite propositions, yet not in the same manner, but what may naturally subsist is convertible into that which does not subsist of necessity. Thus it is possible for a man not to become hoary, but the indefinite is converted into what cannot more subsist in this than in that way. Science, however, and demonstrative syllogism do not belong to indefinites, because the middle is irregular, but to those things which may naturally exist. And arguments and speculations are generally conversant with such contingencies, but of the indefinite contingent we may make a syllogism, though it is not generally investigated. These things, however, will be more defined in what follows. At present let us show when, and how, and what will be a syllogism from contingent propositions. Since then that this happens to be present with that may be assumed in a twofold respect, for it either signifies that with which this is present, or that with which it may be present. Thus the assertion A is contingent to that of which B is predicated signifies one of these things, either that of which B is predicated, or that of which it may be predicated, but the assertion that A is contingent to that of which there is B, and that A may be present with every B, do not differ from each other, whence it is evident that A may happen to be present with every B in two ways. Let us first show if B is contingent to that of which there is C, and if A is contingent to that of which there is B, what and what kind of syllogism there will be, for thus both propositions are contingently assumed. When, however, A is contingent to that with which B is present, one proposition is de in esse, but the other of that which is contingent, so that we must begin from those of similar character, as we began elsewhere. Chapter 14. Of Syllogisms with two contingent propositions in the first figure. When A is contingent to every B, and B to every C, there will be a perfect syllogism, so that A is contingent to every C, which is evident from the definition, for thus we stated the universal contingent to imply. So also if A is contingent to no B, but B to every C, it may be concluded that A is contingent to no C, for to affirm that A is contingent in respect of nothing to which B is contingent, this were to leave none of the contingents which are under B, but when A is contingent to every B, but B contingent to no C, no syllogism arises from the assumed propositions, but B, C, being converted according to the contingent, the same syllogism arises as existed before, as since it happens that B is present with no C, it may also happen to be present with every C, which was shown before. Wherefore if B may happen to every C, and A to every B, the same syllogism will again arise. The like will occur also if negation be added with the contingent mode to both propositions, I mean as if A is contingent to no B, and B to no C. No syllogism arises through the assumed propositions, but when they are converted there will be the same as before. It is evident then that when negation is added to the minor extreme, or to both the propositions, there is either no syllogism or an incomplete one, for the necessity of consequence is completed by conversion. If however one of the propositions be universal, and the other be assumed as particular, the universal belonging to the major extreme, there will be a perfect syllogism, for if A is contingent to every B, but B to a certain C, A is also contingent to a certain C, and this is clear from the definition of universal contingent. Again, if A is contingent to no B, but B happens to be present with some C, it is necessary that A should happen not to be present with some C, since the demonstration is the same. But if the particular proposition be assumed as negative, and the universal affirmative, and retain the same position as if A happens to be present to every B, but B happens not to be present with some C, no evident syllogism arises from the assumed propositions, but the particular being converted, and B being assumed to be contingently present with some C, there will be the same conclusion as before in the first syllogisms. Still, if the major proposition be taken as particular, but the minor as universal, and if both be assumed affirmative or negative, or of different figure, or both indefinite or particular, there will never be a syllogism, for there is nothing to prevent B from being more widely extended than A, and from not being equally predicated. Now let that by which B exceeds A be assumed to be C. To this it will happen that A is present neither to every, nor to none, nor to a certain one, nor not to a certain one, since contingent propositions are convertible, and B may happen to be present to more things than A. Besides, this is evident from the terms, for when the propositions are thus, the first is contingent to the last, and to none, and necessarily present with every individual, and let the common terms of all be these, of being present necessarily, animal, white, man, but of not being contingent, animal, white, garment. Example 1. It happens that something white is is not an animal. It happens that every no some not every man is white. It is necessary that every man should be an animal. It happens that something white is not an animal. It happens that every no some not every garment is white. It is necessary that no garment should be an animal. Therefore it is clear that when the terms are thus, there is no syllogism, for every syllogism is either de in esse, or of that which exists necessarily or contingently, but that this is neither de in esse, nor of that which necessarily exists, is clear, since the affirmative is subverted by the negative, and the negative by the affirmative, wherefore it remains that it is of the contingent, but this is impossible, for it has been shown that when the terms are thus, the first is necessarily inherent in all the last, and contingently is present with none, so that there cannot be a syllogism of the contingent, for the necessary is not contingent. Thus it is evident that when universal terms are assumed in contingent propositions, there arises always a syllogism in the first figure, both when they are affirmative and negative, except that being affirmative it is complete, but if negative, incomplete. We must nevertheless assume the contingent not in necessary propositions, but according to the before named definition, and sometimes a thing of this kind escapes notice. End of chapter 14. Recording in memory of Mitchell Edwards. Chapter 15 of Book 1 of Prior Analytics by Aristotle, translated by Octavius Owen. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Jeffrey Edwards. Chapter 15 of Syllogisms with one simple and another contingent proposition in the first figure. If one proposition be assumed to exist, but the other to be contingent, when that which contains the major extreme signifies the contingent, all the syllogisms will be perfect, and of the contingent, according to the above definition. But when the minor is contingent, they will all be imperfect, and the negative syllogisms will not be of the contingent, according to the definition, but of that which is necessarily present with no one, or not with every. For if it is necessarily present with no one, or not with every, we say that it happens to be present with no one, and not with every. Now let A be contingent to every B, and let B be assumed to be present with every C. Since then C is included under B, and A is contingent to every B, A is also clearly contingent to every C, and there is a perfect syllogism. So also if the proposition A B is negative, but B C affirmative, and A B is assumed as contingent, but B C to be present with simply, there will be a perfect syllogism, so that A will happen to be present with no C. It appears then that when a pure minor is assumed, the syllogisms are perfect, but that when it is of a contrary character, it may be shown per impossible that there would be also syllogisms, though at the same time it would be evident that they are imperfect, since the demonstration will not arise from the assumed propositions. First, however, we must show that if A exists, B must necessarily exist, and that if A is possible, B will necessarily be possible. Let then under these circumstances A be possible, but B impossible. If therefore the possible, since it is possible to be, may be produced, yet the impossible, because it is impossible, cannot be produced. But if at the same time A is possible and B impossible, it may happen that A may be produced without B, if it is produced also, that it may exist, for that which has been generated, when it has been so generated, exists. We must however assume the possible and impossible, not only in generation, but also in true assertion, and in the in esse, and in as many other ways as the possible is predicated, for the case will be the same in all of them. Moreover, when it is said, if A exists, B is, we must not understand as if A being a certain thing, B will be, for no necessary consequence follows from one thing existing, but from there being two at least, as in the case of propositions subsisting in the manner we have stated in syllogism. For if C is predicated of D, but D of F, C will also necessarily be predicated of F, and if each be possible, the conclusion will be possible, just as if one should take A as the premises, but B the conclusion. It will not only happen that A being necessary, B is also necessary, but that when the former is possible, the latter also will be possible. This being proved, it is manifest that when there is a false and not impossible hypothesis, the consequence of the hypothesis will also be false and not impossible, e.g. if A is false yet not impossible, but when A is, B also is, here B will also be false yet not impossible. For since it has been shown that A existing, B also exists, when A is possible, B will be also possible. But A is supposed to be possible, wherefore B will be also possible, for if it were impossible, the same thing would be possible and impossible at the same time. These things then being established, let A be present with every B, and B contingent to every C. Therefore A must necessarily happen to be present with every C, for let it not happen, but let B be supposed to be present with every C, this is indeed false, yet not impossible. If then A is not contingent to C, but B is present with every C, A is not contingent to every B, for a syllogism arises in the third figure, but it was supposed that A was contingently present with every B, therefore A must necessarily be contingent to every C, for the false being assumed and not the impossible, the consequence is impossible. Example 1. Every B is A. It happens that every C is B, therefore it happens that every C is A. It is necessary that some C should not be A. Every C is B. therefore not every B is A. We may also make a deduction to the impossible in the first figure by assuming B to be present with every C, for if B is with every C, but A contingent to every B, A will also be contingent to every C, but it was supposed not to be present with every C. Example 2. Every B is A. It happens that every C is B. Therefore it happens that every C is A. It happens that every B is A. Every C is B. Therefore it happens that every C is A. Still, we must assume the being present with every, not distinguishing it by time, as now, or at this time, but simply, for by propositions of this kind we also produce syllogisms. Since when a proposition is taken as to the present, it will not be a syllogism, since perhaps there is nothing to hinder man from being present some time or other with everything moved, viz. If nothing else is moved, but what is moved is contingent to every horse, yet man is contingent to no horse. Moreover, let the first term be animal, the middle that which is moved, and the last man. The propositions will then be alike, but the conclusion necessary and not contingent, for man is necessarily an animal, so that it is evident that the universal must be taken simply and not deprived by time. Example 3. Whatever is moved is a man. It happens that every horse is moved. It is necessary that no horse should be a man. Whatever is moved is an animal. It happens that every man is moved. It is necessary that every man should be an animal. Again, let the proposition A, B be universal negative, and let A be assumed to be present with no B, but let B contingently be present with every C. Now, from these positions, A must necessarily happen to be present with no C, for let it not so happen, but let B be supposed to be present with C, as before, then A must necessarily be present with some B, for there is a syllogism in the third figure, but this is impossible, wherefore A can be contingent to no C, for the false and not the impossible being assumed, the impossible results. Example 4. No B is A. It happens that every C is B, therefore it happens that no C is A. It is necessary that some C should be A. Every C is B, therefore some B is A. Now, this syllogism is not of the contingent according to the definition, but of what is necessarily present with none, for this is a contradiction of the given hypothesis, because A was supposed necessarily present with some C, but the syllogism per impossible is of an opposite contradiction. Besides, from the terms it appears clearly that there is no contingent conclusion, for let crow stand for A, that which is intelligent for B, and man for C. A is therefore present with no B, for nothing intelligent is a crow, but B is contingent to every C, since it happens to every man to be intelligent, but A is necessarily present with no C, wherefore the conclusion is not contingent. Example 5. Nothing intelligent is a crow. It happens that every man is intelligent. It is necessary that no man should be a crow. But neither is the conclusion always necessary, for let A be what is moved, B science, and C man. A will then be present with no B, but B is contingent to every C, and the conclusion will not be necessary, for it is not necessary that no man should be moved, but also it is not necessary that a certain man should be moved. Therefore it is clear that the conclusion is of that which is necessarily present with no one, hence the terms must be assumed in a better manner. But if the negative be joined to the minor extreme, signifying to be contingent from the assumed propositions, there will be no syllogism, but there will be, as in the former instances, when the contingent proposition is converted. For let A be present with every B, but B contingent to no C. Now, when the terms are thus, there will be nothing necessary inferred, but if B, C be converted, and B be assumed to be contingent to every C, a syllogism arises as before, since the terms have a similar position. In the same manner, when both the propositions are negative, if A, B signifies not being present, but B, C to be contingent to no individual, through these assumptions no necessity arises, but the contingent proposition being converted, there will be a syllogism. Let A be assumed present to no B, and B contingent to no C. Nothing necessary is inferred from these, but if it is assumed that B is contingent to every C, which is true, and the proposition A, B subsists similarly, there will be again the same syllogism. If, however, B is assumed as not present with C, and not that it happens not to be present, there will by no means be a syllogism, neither if the proposition A, B be negative nor affirmative, but let the common terms of necessary presence be white, animal, snow, and of non-contingency white, animal, pitch. Example 6. It happens that every no animal is white. No snow is an animal. It is necessary that all snow should be white. It happens that every no animal is white. No pitch is an animal. It is necessary that no pitch should be white. It is evident, therefore, that when terms are universal, and one of the propositions is assumed, as simply de in esse, but the other contingent, when the minor premise is assumed contingent, a syllogism always arises, except that sometimes it will be produced from the propositions themselves, and at other times from the contingent proposition being converted. When, however, each of these occurs, and for what reason, we have shown. But if one proposition be assumed as universal, and the other particular, when the universal contingent is joined to the major extreme, whether it be affirmative or negative, but the particular is a simple affirmative de in esse, there will be a perfect syllogism, just as when the terms are universal, but the demonstration is the same as before. Now, when the major is universal, simple, and not contingent, but the other, the minor, particular, and contingent, if both propositions be assumed affirmative or negative, or if one be affirmative and the other negative, there will always be an incomplete syllogism, except that some will be demonstrated per impossible, but others by conversion of the contingent proposition, as in the former cases. There will also be a syllogism through conversion when the universal major signifies simply in esse or non in esse, but the particular being negative assumes the contingent, as if A is present or not present with every B, that B happens not to be present with a certain C, for the contingent proposition B, C being converted, there is a syllogism. Still, when the particular proposition assumes the not being present with, there will not be a syllogism. Now, let the terms of presence be "white," "animal," "snow," but of not being present, "white," "animal," "pitch," for the demonstration must be assumed through the indefinite. Example 7. It happens that every (no) animal is white. Some snow is not an animal. It is necessary that all snow should be white. It happens that every (no) animal is white. Some pitch is not an animal. It is necessary that no pitch should be white. Yet if the universal be joined to the less extreme, but particular to the greater, whether negative or affirmative, contingent or pure, there will by no means be a syllogism, nor if particular or indefinite propositions be assumed, whether they take the contingent or simply the being present with, or vice versa, will there thus be a syllogism, and the demonstration is the same as before. Let however the common terms of being present with from necessity be "animal," "white," "man," and of not being contingent "animal," "white," "garment." Example 8. It happens that something / not everything white is an animal. Every / no / some / not every man is white. It is necessary that every man should be an animal. It happens that something / not everything white is an animal. Every / no / some / not every garment is white. It is necessary that no garment should be an animal. Something / not everything white is an animal. It happens that every / no / some / not every man is white. It is necessary that every man should be an animal. Something / not everything white is an animal. It happens that every / no / some / not every garment is white. It is necessary that no garment should be an animal. Hence it is evident that if the major be universal, there is always a syllogism, but if the minor be so, if the major be particular, there will never be. Chapter 16. Of syllogisms with one premise necessary and the other contingent, in the first figure. When one is a necessary proposition simple, de in esse, or non in esse, and the other signifies being contingent, there will be a syllogism, the terms subsisting similarly, and it will be perfect when the minor premise is necessary. The conclusion, however, when the terms are affirmative, will be contingent, and not simple, whether they are universal or not universal. Nevertheless, if one proposition be affirmative, and the other negative, when the affirmative is necessary, the conclusion will in like manner signify the being contingent, and not the not existing, or being present with, and when the negative is necessary, the conclusion will be of the contingent, non in esse, and of the simple, non in esse, whether the terms are universal or not. The contingent also in the conclusion is to be assumed in the same way as in the former syllogisms, but there will not be a syllogism wherein the non in esse will be necessarily inferred, for it is one thing "in esse" not necessarily, and another "non in esse" necessarily. Wherefore it is evident that when the terms are affirmative, there will not be a necessary conclusion, for let A necessarily be present with every B, but let B be contingent to every C, there will then be an incomplete syllogism, whence it may be inferred that A happens to be present with every C, but that it is incomplete is evident from demonstration, for this may be shown after the same manner as in the former syllogisms. Again, let A be contingent to every B, but let B be necessarily present with every C. There will then be a syllogism wherein A happens to be present with every C, but not simply is it present with every C, also it will be complete, and not incomplete, for it is completed by the first propositions. Notwithstanding, if the propositions are not of similar form, first let the negative one be necessary, and let A necessarily be contingent to no B, but let B be contingent to every C. Therefore it is necessary that A should be present with no C, for let it be assumed present either with every or with some one, yet it was supposed to be contingent to no B. Since then a negative proposition is convertible, neither will B be contingent to any A, but A is supposed to be present with every or with some C, hence B will happen to be present with no or not with every C. It was however supposed from the first to be present with every C. Example 1. It is necessary that no B should be A. It happens that every C is B, therefore no C is A. It is necessary that no A should be B. Some C is A, therefore it is necessary that some C should not be B. Still it is evident that there may also be a syllogism of the contingent non in esse, as there is one of the simple non in esse. Moreover, let the affirmative proposition be necessary, and let A be contingently present with no B, but B necessarily present with every C. This syllogism then will be perfect, yet not of the simple, but of the contingent non in esse, for the proposition, viz. The contingent non in esse, was assumed from the major extreme, and there cannot be a deduction to the impossible, for if A is supposed to be present with a certain C, and it is admitted that A is contingently present with no B, nothing impossible will arise therefrom. But if the minor premise be negative when it is contingent, there will be a syllogism by conversion, as in the former cases, but when it is not contingent, there will not be, nor when both premises are negative, but the minor not contingent. Let the terms be the same of the simple in esse, white, animal, snow, and of the non in esse, white, animal, pitch. Example 2. It happens that every / no animal is white. It is necessary that no snow should be an animal. It is necessary that all snow should be white. It happens that every / no animal is white. It is necessary that no pitch should be an animal. It is necessary that no pitch should be white. The same will also happen in particular syllogisms, for when the negative is necessary, the conclusion will be of the simple non in esse. Thus, if A is contingently present with no B, but B contingently present with a certain C, it is necessary that A should not be present with a certain C, since if it is present with every C, but is contingent to no B, neither will B be contingently present with any A, so that if A is present with every C, B is contingent with no C, but it was supposed contingent to a certain C. When however in a negative syllogism the particular affirmative is necessary, as for example B, C, or the universal in an affirmative syllogism, e.g. A, B, there will not be a syllogism de in esse. The demonstration however is the same as in the former cases, but if the minor premise be universal, whether affirmative or negative and contingent, but the major particular necessary, there will not be a syllogism. Let the terms of necessary presence be animal, white, man, and of the non-contingent animal, white, garment. Example 3. It is necessary that something white should be / not be an animal. It happens that every / no man is white. It is necessary that every man should be an animal. It is necessary that something white should be / not be an animal. It happens that every / no garment is white. It is necessary that no garment should be an animal. But when the universal is necessary and the particular contingent, the universal being negative, let the terms of presence be animal, white, crow, and of non in esse, animal, white, pitch. Example 4. It happens that something white is / is not an animal. It is necessary that no crow should be white. It is necessary that every crow should be an animal. It happens that something white is / is not an animal. It is necessary that no pitch should be white. It is necessary that no pitch should be an animal. But when the universal affirms, let the terms of presence be animal, white, swan, but of the non-contingent be animal, white, snow. Example 5. It happens that something white is / is not an animal. It is necessary that every swan should be white. It is necessary that every swan should be an animal. It happens that something white is / is not an animal. It is necessary that all snow should be white. It is necessary that no snow should be an animal. Nor will there be a syllogism when indefinite propositions are assumed, or both particular. Let the common terms de in esse be animal, white, man, de non in esse, animal, white, inanimate. For animal is necessarily and not contingently present with something white, and white is also necessarily and not contingently present with something inanimate. The like also occurs in the contingent, so that these terms are useful for all. Example 6. It happens that something white is / is not an animal. It is necessary that some man should be / not be white. It is necessary that every man should be an animal. It happens that something white is / is not an animal. it is necessary that something inanimate should be / not be white. It is necessary that nothing inanimate should be an animal. It is necessary that something white should be / not be an animal. It happens that some man is / is not white. It is necessary that every man should be an animal. It is necessary that something white should be / not be an animal. It happens that everything inanimate is white. It is necessary that nothing inanimate should be an animal. From what has been said then, it appears that when the terms are alike, both in simple and in necessary propositions, a syllogism does and does not occur, except that if the negative proposition be assumed de in esse, there will be a syllogism with a contingent conclusion, but when the negative is necessary, there will be one of the character of the contingent and of the non-inesse. But it is clear also that all the syllogisms are incomplete, and that they are completed through the above named figures. End of chapter 16. Recording in memory of Mitchell Edwards. Of Book 1 of Prior Analytics by Aristotle, translated by Octavius Owen. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Jeffrey Edwards. Chapter 17 of Syllogisms with two contingent premises in the second figure. In the second figure, when both premises are assumed contingent, there will be no syllogism, neither when they are taken as affirmative, nor negative, nor universal, nor particular, but when one signifies the simple in esse, and the other the contingent, if the affirmative signifies the in esse, there will never be a syllogism, but if the universal negative be pure, there will always be a syllogism. In the same manner, when one premise is assumed as necessary, but the other contingent, still in these syllogisms we must consider the contingent in the conclusions, as we did in the former ones. Now, in the first place, we must show that a contingent negative is not convertible, e.g., if A is contingent to no B, it is not necessary that B should also be contingent to no A. For let this be assumed, and let B be contingently present with no A. Therefore, since contingent affirmatives, both contrary and contradictory, are convertible into negatives, and B is contingently present with no A, it is clear that B may be contingently present with every A. But this is false, for if this is contingent to all of that, it is not necessary that that should be contingent to this, wherefore a negative contingent is not convertible. Moreover, there is nothing to prevent A being contingent to no B, but B not necessarily present with a certain A, e.g., whiteness, may happen not to be present with every man, for it may also happen to be present, but it is not true to say that man is contingently present with nothing white, for he is necessarily not present with many things white, and the necessary is not the contingent. Neither can it be shown convertible per impossible, as if a man should think, since it is false, that B is contingently present with no A, that it is true that it A is not contingent to no one B, for these are affirmation and negation. But if this be true, B is necessarily present with a certain A, therefore A is also with a certain B, but this is impossible, since it does not follow if B is not contingent to no A, that it is necessarily present with a certain A. For not to be contingent to no individual is predicated two ways, the one if a thing is necessarily present with something, and the other if it is necessarily not present with something. For what necessarily is not present with a certain A cannot be truly said to be contingently not present with every A, as neither can what is necessarily present with a certain thing be truly said to be contingently present with every thing. If then any one thinks that because C is not contingently present with every D, it is necessarily not present with a certain D, he would infer falsely, for perchance it is present with every D. Still, because a thing is necessarily present with certain things, on this account we say that it is not contingent to every individual. Wherefore the being present necessarily with a certain thing, and the not being present with a certain thing necessarily, are opposed to the being contingently present with every individual, and in like manner there is a similar opposition to the being contingent to no individual. Hence it is evident that when the contingent and non-contingent are taken, in the manner we first defined, not only the necessarily being present with a certain thing, but also the necessarily not being present with it, ought to be assumed. But when this is assumed, there is no impossibility to a syllogism being produced, whence it is evident from what we have stated that a negative contingent is not convertible. This then being demonstrated, let A be assumed contingent to no B, but contingent to every C. By conversion therefore there will not be a syllogism, for it has been said that a proposition of this kind is inconvertible, neither however will there be by a deduction per impossible, for B being assumed contingently present with every C, nothing false will happen, for A may contingently be present with every and with no C. Example 1. It happens that no B is A. It happens that every C is A. Therefore it happens that no C is B. It happens that no B is A. It is necessary that every or some C should be B. Therefore it happens that every or some C is not A. In short, if there is a syllogism, it is clear that it will be of the contingent, because neither proposition is assumed as de in esse, and this either affirmative or negative, it is possible however in neither way, since if the affirmative be assumed, it can be shown by the terms that it is not contingently present, but if the negative, that the conclusion is not contingent, but necessary. For let A be white, B man, and C horse. A therefore, i.e. whiteness, is contingently present with every individual of the one, though with no individual of the other, but B is neither contingently present, nor yet contingently not present with C. It is evident that it is not contingently present, for no horse is a man, but neither does it happen not to be present, for it is necessary that no horse should be a man, and the necessary is not the contingent, wherefore there is no syllogism. Example 2. It happens that no man is white. It happens that every horse is white. It is necessary that no horse should be a man. This may be also similarly shown if the negative be and if both propositions be assumed affirmative or negative, for the demonstration will be by the same terms. Example 3. It happens that every no man is white. It happens that every no horse is white. It is necessary that no horse should be a man. When one proposition also is universal, but the other particular, or both particular or indefinite, or in whatever other way it is possible to change the propositions, for the demonstration will always be through the same terms. Example 4. It happens that every no man is white. It happens that some horse is not white. It is necessary that no horse should be a man. It happens that some man is not white. It happens that every no horse is white. It is necessary that no horse should be a man. It happens that some man is not white. It happens that some horse is not white. It is necessary that no horse should be a man. Hence it is clear that if both propositions are assumed contingent, there is no syllogism. Chapter 18. Of syllogisms with one proposition simple, and the other contingent, in the second figure. If one proposition signifies in esse, but the other the contingent, the affirmative proposition being simple, but the negative contingent, there will never be a syllogism, neither if the terms be assumed universally or partially. Still the demonstration will be the same, and by the same terms, yet when the affirmative is contingent, but the negative simple, there will be a syllogism. For let A be assumed present with no B, but contingent with every C. Then by conversion of the negative, B will be present with no A, but A is contingent to every C. Therefore there is a syllogism in the first figure, that B is contingent to no C. So also if the negative be added to C, but if both propositions be negative, and one signifies the simple, but the other the contingent non in esse, from these assumed propositions nothing necessary is inferred, but the contingent proposition being converted, there is a syllogism, wherein B is contingently present with no C, as in the former, for again there will be the first figure. If however both propositions be assumed affirmative, there will not be a syllogism. Let the terms of presence be health, animal, man, but of not being present with health, horse, man. Example 1. It happens that every animal is well. Every man is well. It is necessary that every man should be an animal. It happens that every horse is well. Every man is well. It is necessary that no man should be a horse. Every animal is well. It happens that every man is well. It is necessary that every man should be an animal. Every horse is well. it happens that every man is well. It is necessary that no man should be a horse. The same will happen in the case of particular syllogisms. For when the affirmative is pure, taken either universally or particularly, there will be no syllogism, and this is shown in like manner through the same terms as before. Example 2. It happens that no animal is well. Some man is well. It is necessary that every man should be an animal. It happens that no horse is well. Some man is well. It is necessary that no man should be a horse. Every animal is well. It happens that some man is not well. It is necessary that every man should be an animal. Every horse is well. It happens that some man is not well. It is necessary that no man should be a horse. But when the negative is simple, there will be a syllogism by conversion, as in the former cases. Again, if both premises be taken negative, and that which signifies simply the non-inesse be universal, from these propositions no necessity will result. But the contingent being converted as before, there will be a syllogism. If, however, the negative be pure but particular, there will not be a syllogism, whether the other premise be affirmative or negative. Neither will there be one, when both propositions are assumed indefinite, whether affirmative, negative, or particular, and the demonstration is the same, and by the same terms. Example 3. Some animal is not well. It happens that some man is not well. It is necessary that every man should be an animal. Some horse is not well. It happens that some man is not well. It is necessary that no man should be a horse. It happens that some animal is not well. Some man is not well. It is necessary that every man should be an animal. It happens that some horse is not well. Some man is not well. It is necessary that no man should be a horse. Chapter 19. Of syllogisms with one premise necessary, and the other contingent, in the second figure. If, however, one premise signifies the being present necessarily, but the other contingently, when the negative is necessary, there will be a syllogism, wherein not only the contingent, but also the simple non-inesse may be inferred. But when the affirmative is necessary, there will be no syllogism. For let A be assumed necessarily present with no B, but contingent to every C. Then by conversion of the negative, neither will B be present with any A, but A was contingent to every C. Wherefore there is again a syllogism in the first figure, so that B is contingently present with no C. At the same time it is shown that neither is B present with any C, for let it be assumed to be present. Therefore, if A is contingent to no B, but B is present with a certain C, A is not contingent to a certain C, but it was supposed contingent to every C, and it may be shown after the same manner if the negative be added to C. Again, let the affirmative proposition be necessary, but the other negative and contingent, and let A be contingent to no B, but necessarily present with every C. Now when the terms are thus, there will be no syllogism, for it may happen that B is necessarily not present with C. Let A be white, B man, C a swan. Whiteness then is necessarily present with a swan, but is contingent to no man, and man is necessarily present with no swan. Therefore, that there will be no syllogism of the contingent is palpable, for what is necessary is not contingent. Example 1. It happens that no man is white. It is necessary that every swan should be white. It is necessary that no swan should be a man. Yet neither will there be a syllogism of the necessary, for the latter is either inferred from two necessary premises, or from a negative necessary premise. Besides, from these data it follows that B may be present with C, for there is nothing to prevent C from being under B, and A from being contingent to every B, and necessarily present with C, as if C is awake, B animal, and A motion, for motion is necessarily present with whatever is awake, but contingent to every animal, and everything which is awake is an animal. Example 2. It happens that no animal is moved. It is necessary that everything awake should be moved. Everything awake is an animal. Hence it appears that neither the non-inesse is inferred, since if the terms are thus the inesse is necessary, nor when the enunciations are opposite, so that there will be no syllogism. There will be also a similar demonstration, if the affirmative premise be transposed, but if the propositions are of the same character when they are negative, a syllogism is always formed, the contingent proposition being converted, as in the former cases. For let A be assumed necessarily not present with B, and contingently not present with C, then the propositions being converted, B is present with no A, and A is contingent with every C, and the first figure is produced. The same would also occur if the negation belongs to C, but if both propositions be affirmative, there will not be a syllogism, clearly not of the non-inesse, nor of the necessary non-inesse, because a negative premise is not assumed neither in the simple nor in the necessary inesse. Neither again will there be a syllogism of the contingent non-inesse, for necessary terms being assumed, B will not be present with C, e.g. if A be assumed white, B a swan, and C man, nor will there be from opposite affirmations, since B has been shown necessarily not present with C. In short, therefore, a syllogism will not be produced. Example 3. It is necessary that every swan should be white. It happens that every man is white. It is necessary that no man should be a swan. It will happen the same in particular syllogisms, for when the negative is universal and necessary, there will always be a syllogism of the contingent, and of the non-inesse, but the demonstration will be by conversion. Still, when the affirmative is necessary, there will never be a syllogism, and this may be shown in the same way as in the universals, and by the same terms. Example 4. It happens that no man is white. It is necessary that some swan should be white. It is necessary that no swan should be a man. It happens that no animal is moved. It is necessary that something awake should be moved. It is necessary that everything awake should be an animal. It is necessary that every swan should be white. It happens that some man is not white. It is necessary that no man should be a swan. Nor when both premises are assumed affirmative, for of this there is the same demonstration as before. Example 5. It is necessary that every swan should be white. It happens that some man is a swan. It is necessary that no man should be a swan. It happens that every man is white. It is necessary that some swan should be white. It is necessary that no swan should be a man. It is necessary that some swan should be white. It happens that every man is white. It is necessary that no man should be a swan. It happens that some man is white. It is necessary that every swan should be white. It is necessary that no swan should be a man. But when both are negative, and that which signifies the non-inesse is universal and necessary, the necessary will not be concluded through the propositions, but the contingent being converted, there will be a syllogism as before. If however both propositions are laid down indefinite or particular, there will not be a syllogism, and the demonstration is the same, and by the same terms. Example 6. It happens that some animal is not white. It is necessary that some man should be not be white. It is necessary that every man should be an animal. It happens that some animal is not white. It is necessary that something inanimate should be not be white. It is necessary that nothing inanimate should be an animal. It is necessary that some animal should be not be white. It happens that some man is not white. It is necessary that every man should be an animal. It is necessary that some animal should be not be white. It happens that something inanimate is not white. It is necessary that nothing inanimate should be an animal. It appears then, from what we have said, that an universal and necessary negative being assumed, there is always a syllogism, not only of the contingent, but also of the simple non-inesse. But with a necessary affirmative, there will never be a syllogism. Also, that when the terms subsist in the same manner, in necessary as in simple propositions, there is and is not a syllogism. Lastly, that all these syllogisms are incomplete, and that they are completed through the above mentioned figures. Chapter 20. Of syllogisms with both propositions contingent in the third figure. In the last figure, when both premises are contingent, and when only one is contingent, there will be a syllogism. Therefore, when the premises signify the contingent, the conclusion will also be contingent. Also, if one premise signifies the contingent, but the other the simple inesse. Still, when one premise is assumed necessary, if it be affirmative, there will not be a conclusion either necessary or simple. If on the contrary it is negative, there will be a syllogism of the simple non-inesse, as before. In these, however, the contingent must be similarly taken in the conclusions. First then, let the premises be contingent, and let A and B be contingently present with every C. Since therefore a particular affirmative is convertible, but B is contingent to every C, C will also be contingent to a certain B. Therefore, if A is contingent to every C, but C is contingent to a certain B, it is necessary also that A should be contingent to a certain B, for the first figure is produced. If again A is contingently present with no C, but B with every C, A must also of necessity be contingently not present with a certain B. For again there will be the first figure by conversion. But if both propositions be assumed negative from these, the necessary will not result, but the propositions being converted, there will be a syllogism as before. For if A and B are contingently not present with C, if the contingently not present be changed, there will again be the first figure by conversion. If however one term be universal, but the other particular, when they are so, as in the case of simple inesse, there will and will not be a syllogism. For let A be contingently present with every C, and B present with a certain C, there will again be the first figure by conversion of the particular proposition, since if A is contingent to every C, and C to a certain B, A is also contingent to a certain B, and in like manner if the universal be joined to B, C. This also will be produced in a similar way if A, C be negative, but B, C affirmative. For again we shall have the first figure by conversion. If however both are negative, the one universal and the other particular, by the assumed propositions there will not be a syllogism, but there will be when they are converted as before. Lastly, when both are indefinite or particular, there will not be a syllogism, for A must necessarily be present with every and with no B. Let the terms de in esse be animal, man, white, and de non in esse horse, man, white, the middle term white. Example 1. It happens that something white is not an animal. It happens that something white is not a man. It is necessary that every man should be an animal. It happens that something white is not a horse. It happens that something white is not a man. It is necessary that no man should be a horse. End of chapter 20. Recording in memory of Mitchell Edwards.